happy Polka Sunday morning, and welcome to the Sunday Morning Polka Show of Northwest Ohio with your host, David Jackson. That's me. This is March 21st, 2021. Thank you so very much for tuning in to our little big broadcast here, where we like to bring you the finest in mostly Polish-American style polkas, waltzes, and obetics. That was a fine toe-tapping way to start off the show. That was Dr. Kielbasa doing Haystack Polka. How about that? We'll have a lot more great music to come, and we'll also have the news from Poland, and we'll also have the Polish word of the day. Here is, without further delay, the Polish word of the day. Teraz. Teraz. Nie mam czasu, aby się tym teraz zajmować. There you go, the Polish word of the day, an adverb, and the Polish word of the day in a sentence. Indeed, I do not speak the Polish language fluently, but I take a weekly lesson with a couple other people, and we have a very good time trying to learn the language and preserve the beautiful language of our ancestors, but not just for historical purposes. It's also somewhat useful when you go to Poland, which I encourage everyone to do, to be able to speak a little bit of the language and immerse yourself in the culture. And I appreciate your tolerating my pronunciation and practice on a weekly basis. All right, well, enough about that. Let's get back into the music. Let's start off this big set of polka music with Staś Bulanda.
Ja mam dla ciebie takie jedną prośbę, bo coś z nami nie jest tak dobrze. Powiedz miłego, czy ty masz innego? Jak mówisz je, to będzie źle dla mnie. Jak nie jest teraz, to nie będzie. Powiedz mi, dziewczę, czy kochasz mnie? Bo jutro nie będzie czas. Jak nie jest teraz, nie będzie nas. Pamiętałem, jak ja ciebie miałem, by razem byli, wesoło żyli. To było przed tym, a teraz ja nie wiem. Jest smutny czas, jakogo masz teraz. Nie jest teraz, to nie będzie. Powiedz mi, dziewczę, czy kochasz mnie? Bo jutro nie będzie czas. Jak nie jest teraz, nie będzie nas. Jak nie jest teraz, nie będzie nas. Jak nie jest teraz, nie będzie nas.
work all day. Now it's time to play. Mama's make a him a meatball. She's a make it round. It's a weigh 10 pound. Mamma mia, that's a meatball. Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. Mamma mia. Oh, wow. And what do you think, Tony? Huh? Oh. She's a make mistake. She's a bake. Too much pepper in the meatball. She's a make it round. It's a weigh 10 pound. Mamma mia, that's a meatball. Mamma mia, that's a spicy mia. Ow, wow.
They say that too much water has run under the bridge, that we never can live down the past, that once a love has ended, it never can return. But that's not so, for we both know that our love will last. High as the mountains, deep as the sea, tall as the tallest tree. Oh, that's how much I love you, and that's how much you love me. High as the mountains and deep as the sea. It might be they're just jealous and don't want to understand that our love will pass the test with room to spare. It's just their conscience talking of their broken dreams and plans. For it shows that we both know that our love will last. High as the mountains, deep as the sea, tall as the tallest tree. Oh, that's how much I love you, and that's how much you love me. High as the mountains and deep as the sea. High as the mountains and deep as the sea.
Well, there's some Lenny Gomulka for you right there. High as the mountains, deep as the sea. Before that, we heard the Spicy Meatball from Don Nikolsky. When I first recorded that, it had sufficient volume, but it sounded kind of thin there, so we had to depart a little bit early for that one. I suppose such matters are just the typical little problems we face here on the Sunday Morning Polka Show of Northwest Ohio. And we started off that set with a beautiful cha-cha-cha from Stash Bulanda, Jak nie jest teraz, here on the Sunday Morning Polka Show of Northwest Ohio with your host, David Jackson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Boy, howdy, we really, really, really appreciate it. Why don't we go ahead now and think about the news from Poland. This comes to us from the BBC. And here is, no, this is actually from Politico. Politico, here is the story. Poland goes into near lockdown as COVID-19 pandemic accelerates. If those measures don't work, the government will impose a typical lockdown. Poland closed most public venues Saturday for 3 weeks as the rapidly growing number of new daily coronavirus cases threatens the country's already overwhelmed healthcare services, Health Minister Adam Niedzielski said Wednesday. On the day of the announcement, the country noted 25,052 new infections, a 44% jump on the same day last week. Poland's health ministry said in its daily report, 52% of the cases are of the more infectious British variant. There were 453 fatalities, up 13% over the previous week. The main reason for the development of this situation and its acceleration is the British mutation of the coronavirus, Niedzielski told reporters. Poland started clamping down over the last 2 weeks as the country entered the third wave of the pandemic, introducing tougher measures in 2 regions. However, the surge is now forcing the government to impose national measures to keep the health system from being overwhelmed. Under the new rules that went into effect on Saturday, shopping malls will be closed except for essential stores like big groceries or pharmacies. Cinemas, theaters, and other cultural institutions will close as well. Hotels, swimming pools, ski slopes, fitness centers, and other sports venues will also shut down. Poland will also suspend classes for students in the first 3 classes of school, the only ones who had been attending school anyway. That puts the country's entire education system back completely online. The government also asked companies to keep employees at home if possible. Still, those measures fall short of the curfew and lockdowns in place in many other EU countries. So there we go. That is the news from Poland. Unfortunately, not so very good news from Poland as the virus is in a new wave there. And it is a tricky virus. And we are in a race between mutations and getting vaccinations into people. All right, now back into the music here on the Sunday Morning Polka Show. Why don't we give a listen to Freddie Zwick, who has a recording out, brand new, called Songs for Social Distancing. And here we go. Thank you. Take it away, Freddie.
Morgen kommt und die letzten Schatten vergehen. Schau du Menschen durchs Jahre hinab zu den sonnigen Höhen. Schau hinauf, wo der weiße Konder so einzeln zieht. Wie ein Gruß an die Sonne erklingt ihr altes Lied. Sierra Madre del Sur, Sierra, Sierra Madre, Sierra, Sierra Madre del Sur, Sierra, Sierra Madre. Getan und der Abendfrieden beginnt. Schau die Menschen hinauf, wo das Sierra in Abendrot brennt. Und sie denken daran, wie schnell ein Glück oft vergeht. Und aus 1000 Herzen erklingt es wie ein Gebet. Sierra Madre del Sur, Sierra, Sierra Madre, Sierra, Sierra Madre del Sur, Sierra, Sierra Madre.
podziały. Oj, moje młode czasy, ej, góro, Joce, góro, ej, spod samuczki tater, ej, wyscyk mnie wykąpą, ej, wykoły sowiater. I gwiazdeczki wokoło, oj, gdzie jo się obruszę, oj, wszędzie mi wesoło. Oj, ale młodzi muzykanci od nich grają na nowo kumoter z kumorską do tańca. Hop!
Below, and my furnace is broke. Shivers run down my spine. I'm stuck in a drift, and I might freeze to death. California is on my mind. 10 feet of snow, my pipes are all froze. Remind me why I live here. My beer is all froze, I can't feel my toes. Let's get the heck out of here. It's 14 below and my furnace is broke. Shivers run down my spine. I'm stuck in a drift and I might freeze to death. California is still on my mind. I can't start my car, it's just too darn cold. There's nothing that I can do. I could walk to your house, but I'm froze to the bone. But nothing can keep me from you. I ran out of wood 3 days ago. Spring is still 6 weeks away. In your four-wheel drive, try to get to my house. Maybe we can get away. California, my dear, is 80, I hear. We'd like to go there and play. It's nice to be seen with Gail, Don, and Jean. Why don't we go there today? Everybody, it's 14 below and my furnace is broke. Shivers run down my spine. I'm stuck in a drift and I might freeze to death. California is still on my mind.
From up Bay City way in Michigan, the Steve Javitsky Band doing the Winter Lament. Yes, you just get a chill hearing that song. Yes, you do. The Mountaineers Polka by Ed Blazonczyk preceded that, and then some Fred Zivich came before that. In that fine set of polka music, hey, that winter lament made me think of spring. And our good friend Stanley Bill, who knows a lot about Poland, tells us this about the word for spring in Polish. It is wiosna. It comes to us from a Proto-Slavic word called vesna, derived from earlier terms possibly related to the word brightness. Also see the Sanskrit word for spring, vesanta or vasanta. Some argue that the words wesołe in Polish, which means merry or happy, and wesele, wedding, may have the same root as wiosna, which is the word for spring. How about that? A little extra in the Polish language. Today's Polish word of the day is teraz. Nie mam czasu, aby się tym teraz zajmować, is the Polish word of the day in a sentence. And now, let's get back into the polka music, shall we? Our good friend Eric Height hooked us up with some Chuck Pendrak. And so we are going to go ahead and play an oberek from Mr. Pendrak called Our Gang.
oldie but a goodie coming up for you folks like this. My heart has a mind of its own. Just like this, you bet. I told this heart of mine our love could never be, but then I hear your voice and something stirs inside of me. Somehow I can't dismiss the memory of your kiss. Yes, my heart has a mind of its own. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter how I try, I just can't turn the other way. When I'm with someone new, I'll always think of you. Yes, my heart has a mind of its own. Hey! I told this heart of mine our love could never be, but then I hear your voice and something stirs inside of me. Somehow I can't dismiss the memory of your kiss. Yes, my heart has a mind of its own. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter how I try, I just can't turn the other way. When I'm with someone new, I'll always think of you. Yes, my heart has a mind of its own. Hey! Are you ready? Kick it up just like this.
Miałam ja chłopczyka za mały był, za mały był, lecz ja go kochałam, a biednym był Jasiu. Jasiu, Jasiu, Jasiu mój, oczy spłakane mam. Jak odjedziesz w pole twój, nie pozostaniesz sam. Jasiu, Jasiu, Jasiu mój, oczy spłakane mam. Jak odjedziesz w pole twój, nie pozostaniesz sam. Miałam ja chłopczyka, za mały był, za mały był, za mały był, lecz ja go kochałam, a biednym był Jasiu. Jasiu, Jasiu, Jasiu mój, oczy spłakane mam. Jak odjedziesz w pole twój, nie pozostaniesz sam. Jasiu, Jasiu, Jasiu mój, oczy spłakane mam. Jak odjedziesz w pole twój, nie
przy tej dziewczynie, tej pięknej doliny, są sobie aż w głowie. A przy tej dziewczynie, tej pięknej dolinie, są sobie aż w głowie. Więc to ci tak w głowie, wino kawalerowie, co sobie wsi chodzą do jednej dziewczynie, tam w zielonym dorowie. Co sobie wsi chodzą do jednej dziewczynie, tam w zielonym dorowie. Jeden mówi kochaj mnie, drugi mówi bądź moja, a trzeci zapytam serduszko kochanie, czemu żeś mi tak smutna? A trzeci zapytam serduszko kochanie, czemu żeś mi tak smutna? Odpowiadam bolewą, wszystko ci podsłucham. Który najładniejszy, który najfajniejszy, temu serce swojego. Który najładniejszy, który najfajniejszy, temu serce mojego.
Send it to the drummer here. We like pivo and kolaches. He likes cerveza and tamales. And we all have a very good time. That's polka. Are y'all ready? When we come to Midland, Texas, you will find great people there. They like to have a good time, and they live without a care. But the color of their skin is not just one shade. And when they dance the polka, well, they don't drink lemonade. They like pivo and kolaches, cerveza and tamales. They roll out the barrel, yeah, and they have a great time. Try some pivo and kolaches, cerveza and tamales, and the rancho grande. You will have a great time. Oh, you got it now. Well, there are so many places in Texas where Czechs and Hispanics live. Well, they may not have much dinero, but they're always happy to give at quinceañeras and church picnics.
right, all right. How about that? That is a wonderful song called Pivo and Kolaches, Cerveza y Tamales. All about Czech and Mexican culture down there in Texas by the Dojka brothers. Before that, we heard Near the Shore from the fabulous News Orchestra. We heard Ed Biagaj on the vocals with the Heroes Orchestra doing a Yashu. We heard Dwayne Malinowski live, doing His Heart Has a Mind of Its Own. Badanov did Daddy's Troubles, and we started off that set with some wonderful music from Chuck Pendrak, a fabulous oberek called Our Gang, here on the Sunday Morning Polka Show of Northwest Ohio. Why don't we take another visit? Oh, I'd like to send that beautiful Czech tune out to the love of my life, my wife, Lori. Now let's go ahead and revisit the Polish word of the day. Teraz, here it is in a sentence. Nie mam czasu, aby... No. Nie mam czasu, aby się tym teraz zajmować. There we go. Polish word of the day, an adverb, Polish word of the day, in a sentence. Long sets of polka music. What more can a polka radio fan ask for? How about more music? It's always fun to have more music, right? Right. Let's see here. Trying to find a really good one here. Takes a few seconds sometimes to click through the music. All right. Well, let's see if this works out well or not. Here is the Ed Krolikowski Orchestra. Here is one they call Polka Karolina. And away we go.
my baby, no sir, I don't mean maybe. Why don't you marry me? We'd live so happily. Why don't you marry me? We'd live so happily. Please, please, please say maybe. Please, please, please say maybe. You know I love you so, I'll never let you go. You know I love you so, I'll never let you go. Yes, sir, she's my baby. No, sir, I don't mean maybe. Why don't you marry me? We'd live so happily. Why don't you marry me? We'd live so happily. Please, please, please say maybe. Please, please, please say maybe. You know I love you so, I'll never let you go. You know I love you so, I'll never let you go.
Bije mamcia, bije mnie, że ja chłopców całuję. Widzi mamcia, jak to źle. Wszystkie panny chłopców mają, a ja nie. Marysiu, buzi daj, mamusi nie pytaj, bo mamcia tak robiła, jak jeszcze młodą była. Nie pytaj, bo mamcia tak robiła, jak jeszcze młodą była. Siedzi mamcia w kajniku, a ja chłopcem w sadziku. Widzi mamcia, jak to źle. Wszystkie panny chłopców mają, a ja nie. Marysiu, buzi daj, mamusi nie pytaj, bo mamcia tak robiła, jak jeszcze młodą była. Marysiu, buzi daj, mamusi nie pytaj, bo mamcia tak robiła, jak jeszcze młodą była. Marysiu, buzi daj, mamusi nie pytaj, bo mamcia tak robiła, jak jeszcze młodą była. Marysiu, buzi daj, mamusi nie pytaj, bo mamcia tak robiła, jak jeszcze młodą była.
That there song by Ray J and the Carousels is known as the Scolding Mother Polka. Although the lyrics indicate mother is doing a little bit more than scolding. Bia mamcha. She's taken some whacks at the protagonist of the song. Yes, bia mamcha, bia mnie. Je ya hopsuv sawuye. I believe the young lady is getting some wax because she has been kissing the boys. In any event, this is the Sunday Morning Polka Show of Northwest Ohio with your host, David Jackson. And we are reaching the top of the hour, the end of the big broadcast. And so it's that time when we say thank you so very, very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for listening to us on the Mixcloud. Thank you for spreading the word to your friends. Pushing that little share button when you see the link to the show does so much to spread polka music. We're averaging around 600 to 700 listeners per week, but we want to multiply that by 10 and then multiply that by 10 again, so that we can do all we can to keep polka music going forever. Hey, before that we heard Yes Sir, She's My Baby from Marion Lush. We heard In Heaven There Is No Bear. No, In Heaven There Is No Beer from the fabulous Dynabrass. And we heard a scratchy old 78. Polka Karolina from Ed Krolikowski and his mighty orchestra. So you've heard a whole mix of music today. Unfortunately, no Slovenian, but lots of Polish. One Czech thrown in as well with a bit of a Mexican influence. Next week, we'll mix it up a little bit more. Hey, let's visit that Polish word of the day one last time. Teraz means now. Nie mam czasu, aby się tym teraz zajmować means I don't have time to deal with it now. That's a pretty good sentence right there. Well, in any event, if the good Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise, we have every intention of being back next week. Until then, as we like to say, do zobaczenia. And now we're going to go out with some fabulous John Góra and all of his górale from a fabulous recording they called Duty Free Polkas. That's the name of the recording. And why don't we go out with, there's just so many fabulous songs on this recording to choose from. Let's just go with the lead track, because it's a goodie. Love Don't Get Better Than This.
Sprung a new leaf, the forecast says we'll rain. We've got our work cut out, just keeping dry. The kids could use some new shoes, the house a coat of paint. Somehow we always manage to get by. Cause we know you and I, love don't get better than this. I still feel that same thrill when we kiss. Let the world fall apart, face to face and heart to heart. And love don't get better than this. I don't hear you complaining, but I see it in your eyes. Things haven't gone too well for you today. We've had our dreams of mansions, life got us down to size. There's been some disappointments along the way. Still we smile when we say, love don't get better than this. I still feel that same thrill when we kiss. Let the world fall apart, face to face and heart to heart. Love don't get better than this. Fools may search for gold, but having you to hold makes me the richest man I know. Love don't get better than this. 'Cause love don't get better